It has been over a year since the release of Elden Ring, and a lot has changed since the game came out. Elden Ring may be only a year old, but the story begins years before the release. I wanted to talk about the game from the day it was announced, to where we are today. The initial hype, the reception, and the post-release, since a lot has changed over time. So if that sounds good to you, strap yourself in, because we are going on a ride that begins in 2019. This video won't be a boss breakdown or a boss analysis video like some of the videos on my channel from the community perspective, being an all-in-one story. But at 100,000 subscribers, my very talented friend Nogi-san said that she wants to design a brand new piece of merch that you guys vote on. So if you guys have a favorite boss or character in mind from Elden Ring or any Souls game, let me know and help me reach 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much and enjoy the video. Let's begin this massive journey by placing you back in 2019. There are few games that can live up to the expectations placed on them by a world of gamers desperate for an experience to knock their socks off. Many games were supposed to be the next big one.
We both know why you're here, and that's to talk about the next Fallout.
Okay, but let me tell you, the feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking.
Gaming in general was looking a little dry. So many E3 promises and very little actual game. But FromSoft has always made games on their terms and their way. Rumors started to swirl in May of 2019 that the next From Software game was on the way, but these rumors were considered to be so outlandish. It's easy to believe now that an open world Souls game made with George R.R. Martin is a reality, but in 2019, I'm sure you can understand this was like listening to a 4chan leak.
When you get there, you of course have a boss or a higher up or a prince or whatnot that you defeat, you kill, and then you take their ability and you add it to your arsenal. So think of like Mega Man, for example.
This was the only person I could find who guessed a new From Software game was coming. But to be as accurate as he was is nothing short of insane, or George R.R. Martin owes this man a lot of money.
And there's also been the rumor, the world's wildest rumor, that George R.R. Martin has been consulting with From Software on a game that has horses in it.
The idea of a new Souls game was starting to get to the forums, but the fans wouldn't be excited unless their demands were met.
For every successful FromSoft game needs environmental storytelling, atmosphere, action, and Guinevere's tip. Here's what the rumored new game needs: environmental storytelling, atmosphere, action, everybody's tip, and a coherent adaptation of source material.
You got your wish, and you're still maidenless. It's funny to look back and really take in what people thought this game was going to be. Choose your own adventure in different kingdoms wasn't entirely wrong. Neither was the Mega Man-like game, because the reality of Elden Ring shared a lot of similarities to Mega Man. Every main boss area was unique to another, and there was a lot of different elements of each boss, like fire, snow, lightning, and more, just like you'd find in a Mega Man stage. Some articles thought this rumored game was going to be Bloodborne 2. Please release this game. My wife and kids say they won't come back unless From Software drops Bloodborne 2 or a remaster of the first. I'm alone with a half-eaten pizza. Not even Domino's. We're talking freezer Red Baron. It's cold. Why did I let her take them? Then the rumors became increasingly more rapid as even Vati made a video on the leaks.
A few months ago, the rumor mill exploded regarding a collaboration between From Software, the creators of Dark Souls, and George R.R. Martin, the writer behind Game of Thrones: A Song of Ice and Fire. Today, I'm making this video to tell you that, unlike Season 8 of Game of Thrones, these stories are actually believable.
June 2019. The day was finally approaching, And somehow a game as monumental as Elden Ring was still mostly kept quiet by the people involved. How this game didn't leak is beyond me. Okay, I lied. It did leak, but only a day before the trailer was set to release. So it's not a major leak, right? At the Summer Games Fest of 2019, and coming off of the success of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, From Software teased the world with a monumental announcement.
George
There
R.
he
Martin,
is.
baby! The rumor was true!
Yes,
Okay,
let's
okay,
go.
Holy crap!
Okay.
God damn it, From Software.
Let's cool off.
That which commanded the
Dude, Sekiro just came out. You guys are crazy, dude.
by someone or something.
This is already really good.
Elden Ring.
Yeah, this one's actually going to be good because they're using the same font as Dark Souls. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be good.
Elden Ring's immediate expectations were through the roof, but we wouldn't see another trailer for 2 more years. So we're taking the time machine forward, but not without looking at the bad ending. Cyberpunk was supposed to be the other massive game. It had its trailer at the same Summer Games Fest as Elden Ring. But due to crunch and trying too many new ideas with a buggy game, CD Projekt Red lost their fantastic reputation in 2020. I want to cover how Cyberpunk became a case of goodening, but clearly the expectations for From Software to not deliver were popping up more often on Reddit and opinion pieces in general. The evidence of these popped up with perfection games at showcases that really just ended up being disappointments at launch, followed by those goddamn developer apology posts. They were all stacking up. It's easy to disagree now, but back then we just saw one of gaming's angels, the legendary CD Projekt Red, take a fall. The good news is that Elden Ring looked to be adding to what already worked for the Souls series, not sailing too far away from home, and we hadn't even seen gameplay yet.
Yeah, I can already tell.
It is.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Oh, there's the horse. There's the horse.
Yes, dude! I f***ing knew it! That's an X. Holy sh**. We got it, boys.
Oh my god, they're finally showing. They had to talk about this, dude. We haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah, they did say it was a big world. I remember that from a long time ago. What the hell? Wow.
Oh, dude! Is that a boss? Oh, look at it. Yeah, that's a boss if I've ever seen one. Ooh, that's phantoms!
In fact, summoning! Summoning confirmed!
Summoning
Blue
confirmed!
Phantom!
Brandish the Elden Ring.
Yes! Yes, please.
The Elden Ring was finally real, and it had a release date in a year, and we had gameplay backing it. The biggest surprise of all was later into 2021 when FromSoft did a network test allowing players to experience the opening area of Limgrave all the way up until Margit on the bridge. There was a few cut pieces of content that wouldn't make it past this test, like the giant heads you could find out on the beaches. As Lance McDonald gathered together, there were also cut pieces of dialogue from Vare, and an easier way to destroy the chariots in the Hero's Grave dungeon. The best way to sum up the network test is that FromSoft just opened Santa's sack of game and told us that this was only the first of many presents.
boy! Wow! Wee! What the f? That's pretty good.
What does that mean? Oh God! Oh my God! I did not see that guy.
Ah! There we go. Was that sub 20 tries? I think it was. Oh, first try. Oh, I thought so.
Elden Ring released to massive critical acclaim, and fans raved on about yet another success in the Miyazaki catalog of From Software games. 3 major factors, in my opinion, contributed to the success not only commercially, but in the eyes of players. Timing, a Souls game in the open world with quality of life changes, and the direction of open world versus the Ubisoftification and live service model of gaming. Elden Ring's success versus others should come as no surprise. Word of mouth is the new way games travel, and FromSoft's reputation to many has been seen as the gold standard in gaming. Most studios and developers would lick their lips and jump right into making every way to monetize or feed sugar cubes to their star horse, armor. But Elden Ring's development was clearly made for the game first, a finished game, and everything after. Even most AAA single-player games are releasing with massive amounts of DLC for something as simple as a color change on a costume. But From just gave so much game, it's unbelievable. And the timing for being this anomaly in the 2020s of gaming's live service models is unheard of. It hadn't been since 2016 that From dropped the type of game that Elden Ring shared a feel to, and Sekiro already won the Game of the Year while not being the traditional RPG of Dark Souls. Games during 2020 and 2021 were halted, or made with a lot of changes suitable to working from home. But FromSoft had been developing Elden Ring for years, so the timing could not have been more perfect. Quality of life. The largest improvements in Elden Ring might be the ones that don't get talked about enough, and contributed to its success. The stakes of America right outside of every boss arena, giving players the chance to go straight to the fight instead of those of Dark Souls runbacks. The jump button, which is such a simple addition, yet changed so many ways to enjoy the game, and dodge attacks with a much more forgiving hitbox, made the game feel newer. In Elden Ring, the dungeons are a one-time completion, but each has an item unique to it, with some dungeons even being mines to grab upgrades from. This was the lesson that Elden Ring taught every single player: to explore, then get powerful on a boss, and then beat it. But the option for the more traditional Souls game player was always there. If you wanted to go toe-to-toe with your favorite boss like a classic Souls game, you could, and nobody was going to stop you. Elden Ring also introduced other forms of quality of life, like incantations, which are PvE summons that took the pressure off of boss fights because the bosses would be focused on your jellyfish, your group of soldiers, your mimic tier. Okay, once the mimic tier was found, I think this became the only incantation I saw getting used. Other quality of life included statues pointing you to a dungeon, ghosts walking around to guide you, plenty of sites of grace all close to each other and easy to fast travel to, this massive dragon players could find in Caelid to farm hundreds of thousands of souls, and more. I could write a whole video on quality of life improvements this game made, but I think the amount of players who finish this game versus other Souls games nails that point in. Each new area gradually became more challenging, and all locations, optional or not, always taught you the lesson that every anime character learns: lose, get stronger, come back when you're ready. Anti-Ubisoftification. Elden Ring did the opposite of Ubisoftification. Ubisoftification can be best summed up by the typical open world format. Fill out the map by clearing a tower-like structure. Side quests come down to following a character around. And genuinely, it's more of a grocery list of objectives where the open world controls how you play versus you creating your own journey. Ubisoft changed the landscape of open world games with Assassin's Creed 2 for better or worse. This started off fine. Assassin's Creed 2 is a great game for its time, even winning Game of the Year. But every game Ubisoft made that was open world followed this format, and the once open worlds started to feel the exact same. I like my comfort Ubisoft games, and I'm not knocking what works because it clearly does, or they wouldn't continue making them. I'm just saying that Elden Ring was a world already existing without the player's input, and it was on you to fill out that space. Find the side quests, explore the dungeons and mini bosses for your own story. There was no playbook. There was no guide other than a really bad Site of Grace map pointing you north, and each location felt iconically different. It was such a jarring change that Ubisoft developers even chimed in to say how they felt about the game. And rip on it?
Elden Ring UX is so bad, it's like they use CRT monitors and smoke on the job.
Somebody's salty they work for an open world sandbox generator that makes uninspired games. You be sad, huh? The funny part is that the games that had bad UI were inspired by your games. The inspiration for Elden Ring, as Miyazaki said in an interview with Edge magazine, quote,
The Lord of the Rings, the Eternal Champion series of novels by Michael Moorcock, aspects of tabletop RPGs such as RuneQuest, etc. There are a lot of motifs and themes that I was able to pick from these various works that had an effect on the development of Elden Ring.
Now this quote doesn't explicitly say Ubisoft, but it's not like your types of games weren't in the inspiration, Ubisoft. You just gotta accept that FromSoft made open world feel refreshing. It's easy to make comparisons to other open world games with Elden Ring, because yes, it's a giant open landscape, yes, it's a fantasy world, and yes, the opening doors of Limgrave have a very similar introduction to Breath of the Wild. But just like each of these classics, Elden Ring separates itself by not straying too far away from what worked in its other iconic games. It's an anomaly in modern day gaming because not only did Miyazaki spend so long with his team developing the game that he didn't even want to play the final version himself, but he also has no idea what made it so successful versus the other games, and has no added pressure to deliver an even better game after seeing the success, which is unheard of in AAA gaming. Nowadays, you'd expect live service models to take over, where you would have the Elden Ring Battle Pass, you would have the weekly drip-fed content, and maybe what you paid for would even get taken away. But not for Elden Ring. George R.R. Martin is credited with the character backgrounds, family, and political dynamics, and the traits. But I know this guy, without a doubt, made Melania to be the goddess of I could go on and on about the bosses, locations, and what they meant to the story, or how George R.R. Martin is the perfect marriage for Miyazaki's worlds. But those videos are saved for my boss series on FromSoft games, so I'll leave it be. I will conclude this section by saying the game worked because the world design told you to make your own adventure, with whatever build you wanted to use, and that each location looks so iconically different that you'd be licking your lips from a mile away, knowing you would one day be looking into the next Elden Ring 64 painting. Okay, there is one more moment that really separated Elden Ring and made it special. It's so simple, yet so fantastic, that I can't help but not mention it. It's the moment that I fell in love with the game, and probably the same for a lot of people. I don't know how else to explain this section. Even with explains in my channel name, I just can't do it. Some things aren't meant to be explained. The underground just fucks. And that's okay. This just makes me smile. With the amount of popularity and selling over 20 million copies in the first 2 months, Elden Ring, much like other FromSoft games, was bound to reach a wider audience, which meant, with all the love, also came all of the scrutiny. But there are some legitimate criticisms found here too. The hot takes ran wild. I'm not here to change your mind, but the criticisms were UI and quest design, intentional. Difficulty, intentional. Graphics, art style. And some others that I think are more reserved for the post-Elden Ring effect. Okay, so maybe these are just taste and not legitimate criticisms, because to me, criticism is only justified if the game's message isn't painted clearly, right? Legitimate criticism, I don't believe, would come until after Elden Ring had its time in the spotlight, but we need to actually see the spotlight first. I asked some questions to some Elden Ring creators on just their experience with the game and how they felt about it as it's changed over time.
All of the previous Souls games have had a wide range of possible builds, but Elden Ring has just stepped it up to another level. I've been brainstorming new, fun ways to play the game for well over a year at this point, and I still haven't hit any walls of creativity just because of how vast the game is.
There's so many incredible moments, but what I remember the most was the excitement surrounding each and every one of those trailers. Every time there'd be a brand new one, everyone in the community would come together and they would just share their excitement, their, all the anticipation and just like theory craft of, what the final game would be like.
Finding out that there was another world under the world blew my mind. Because at first, when I opened up the map and I saw how big it was, I wasn't blown away and I was worried Elden Ring was going to be smaller than it is. And then that happened, and it was my favorite moment in gaming for a very long time.
We'd have to say our opinions on the lore and world building have changed the most. Initially, the game was gorgeous, fun, and expansive, but the first impression was that the world lacked enough depth to keep us totally engrossed like previous FromSoft games. But now, we might even say it's the most fleshed out and deep game world they've ever made.
I actually had not watched any gameplay trailers or footage of Elden Ring until I had the ability to play it. I will always remember spending 10 minutes in the first room you spawn in, messing around with controls and changing key bindings. After losing promptly to Scion, my biggest memory is opening the door to the Lands Between for the very first time and just being absolutely astonished at how expansive the game was. It gave me goosebumps.
So I remember when the gameplay trailer for Elden Ring first came out, I was eating like Zaxby's or something in my kitchen, and then I saw that the trailer was on my feed, so I instantly watched it, and I got so excited that I couldn't eat. So I wasted my Zaxby's. My Zaxby's got cucked because the trailer was so good and I was so excited for the game. I lost my appetite.
The first time I saw the game, I remember being in my dorm room on the first year of college. I remember watching the trailer, getting hype, then running to my roommate, showing him the trailer. He doesn't have any interest in Elden Ring, so he didn't really get hyped for it, but I got hyped again. And then I wondered, how many feet will Miyazaki stick in this one?
The answer? A lot of feet.
Don't tell me I gotta fight that thing right now. Let's go! Let's go!
Okay. I get it.
What you felt light up inside you was a Baldakin's blessing.
Oh, is that what that was?
But a fleeting
Okay.
thing, I am afraid.
Let's do it.
I didn't expect the second. Holy sh!
Fire giant. Oh! Okay. Yeah, leg. That'll work. Oh, I am so sorry I did that to your leg. Oh, it's not supposed to bend that way. Hi.
Oh, rot immediate. What? Oh my, I see. It also has its own built-in AoE. Yikes.
Oh, nice shot. Yeah, this is definitely a two-phaser. Oh god, not again.
What the nut, bro?
Oh, my mimic tier. Oh, he's. You know what that means? That means I'm. Let's go! Oh my god!
Oh god.
And I have never known defeat.
I've known many defeat, I can tell you. Oh god. Oh okay. Oh god. Oh my god, she's healing.
Elden Ring to me can be described as Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in one journey, meaning that there was so much to do, so much to conquer, enjoy, that playing another playthrough would almost come up short versus that very first time. Obviously, right? It was built for the journey instead of the journeys, and the New Game Plus didn't exactly offer anything new. New Game Plus is always a way to finish the content you missed the first time around while trying new builds and endings. But in the more linear games, there were usually other benefits to New Game Plus, especially Dark Souls 2, which offered the most New Game Plus of all of the games, with dual wields of your weapons, new rings, and benefits. Elden Ring's New Game Plus was just kind of there, and I'm curious if this was also a deliberate decision to make the game basically the same as the normal game. After the rose tint wore off on Elden Ring, it was easier to notice the issues than ever before, like how Donkey pointed out in his video about the ridiculous amount of scaling that the endgame had versus the earlier sections, and the balance of enemies versus the runes they give after death.
But what's frustrating about Elden Ring is that for all the effort that has gone into the world and enemies, it feels like they only spent 10 seconds balancing this game. This is an evil game made by an evil man, and whoever's job it was to balance the damage scaling on enemies did not show up to work. I am calling this game out. Not because it's a bad game, but because it's an incredible game that is held back by very poor balancing.
This video was first seen to the Souls community as just another bad review, but with time, I think a lot more people agree. Then Joseph Anderson dropped his review calling Elden Ring a shattered masterpiece, pointing to the final third of the game and the jarring scale of imbalance to the point that he didn't even want to touch the game ever again. Some, like Democracy, express the amount of reuse the bosses suffer from, with only a small handful being a one-time memorable fight. I'm curious to know what you guys think, if you guys resonate with some of the criticisms or you just find them dumbfounded. Now, for me personally, I find Elden Ring the weakest in terms of boss fights in general, with a lot taking a page out of Nameless King's fight with delayed attacks. But as Rusty pointed out in his video on the defense of Elden Ring bosses, there is an intentional choice in the way Elden Ring bosses are presented. You have items, builds, summons, etc. to knock down bosses who are virtually unfuckwithable. Time was the best way to judge this game, like every other one, and as it passed, things would change. Before, some people would jump on the chance to say, unfinished game! You're not entirely wrong. Yes, the changes to stat balancing, the late addition to a PvP arena, and a DLC could be seen as an unfinished game, but the game's story and content of playtime was always there without any major game-ruining bugs. Plus, if this is how every DLC of modern-day gaming went, then sign me up. Instead of the weekly drip-fed models of games, a ton of balance change has happened since the release, and weapons like Rivers of Blood have been nerfed more times than I can count. Same with the Mimic Tear Incantation. PvP was considered an absolute afterthought, and has now become a coherent thought with the arena. Poetically, both Melania and Radahn were buffed and nerfed on separate occasions. Players learned over time the best way to deal with bosses and their moves. I still don't think all of these updates have changed my opinion on the game. It's still best enjoyed as a one-time experience with bosses that aren't my personal favorite. I'm sorry, game, I just like the combat of Bloodborne's trick weapons for boss fights too much. The best way to enjoy Elden Ring if you want another fresh experience, and while we await its inevitable DLC, is to get the PC version and play a randomizer mod. Even the seamless co-op with a randomizer is fantastic, and it will make your experience feel like the first time again. And you might be surprised when you see Radon where Morgott was supposed to be. Psst, he's harder than Melania in the end game.
Bye, Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
As I look back on Elden Ring 1 year later, I'm reminded of a game that was what gaming had been missing for a while. One that was so revolutionary that every open world game will now inevitably suffer the Elden Ring of effect. The way Crash Bandicoot's remake was the Dark Souls of platformers. I'm not any better. I made a video on Tears of the Kingdom from the perspective of an Elden Ring player who has never played Breath of the Wild. Then I played both Breath and Tears after Elden Ring. But after a year, you have to embrace that there's a reason everything will be compared to Elden Ring.
Foul tarnished, emboldened by the flame of ambition.
Our journey together ends here.
I will not have it stolen from me again.
Now, go forth, become Elden Lord.
I commend your spirit, but alas, none shall take the throne.
I will seek you to deliver you destined death.
Pot Friend became so popular, it was a Twitch global emote. Maidenless became a household insult. Let Me Solo Her became the household hero. And the story that is my personal highest viewed video of all time on my EvanF1997 channel. Which is such an anomaly because that channel is known for only posting Destiny. Soon to be marathon, motherfucker! The song of the Radon Festival can still be heard. The Windmill Village dance can still be seen.
I am Melania, Blade of Mikola.
Will never be forgotten. This is still my favorite meme from the whole entire year. And there was also Elden Beast. Speedruns and challenge runs became unbelievable, with Elden Ring being an outlet for gaming's most talented players. The God Run was completed by Dino Syndigil without taking a single hit in any of these games, including Elden Ring. Miss Mika danced on Melania, then did it with 2 versions of the same game at once. Bushy beat the game with only Melania on the field. Iron Pineapple proved that you can beat the game by being a pacifist. Harry Cariel beat bosses without even touching a controller and using her brain instead. Larksa beat the game with her voice. Distortion beat the game with his butt. And Starro Chris beat the game with 12 of the same boss in every fight, with Malekith alone costing him over 1,000 deaths. Speedruns of the game were not only impressive, but too powerful that any percent runs have been broken into 4 different types of any percent categories. Look, the art, the speedruns, challenges, lore breakdowns, everything was made out of pure admiration and love for something great. And goddamn, I'm proud to be contributing to that in some way. The Game Awards summed up Elden Ring's year perfectly. After God of War Ragnarok won almost every single award, Elden Ring won Game of the Year. And to express how perfect the game full of memorable moments and memes was, this happened.
I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
Was there even a way this could get better? Yeah, actually there is a way this could get better. About a year after Elden Ring's release, From Software broke their silence and announced the Shadows of the Erd Tree DLC with a picture of Mikola on top of Torrent. So yeah, it can get better, but that is for another year. And in the meantime, we have Armored Core 6 coming soon. Thanks for watching this video and me blab on about a game that changed gaming forever and impacted my enjoyment of games forever as well. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here as we approach 100,000 subs one day. I want to say you guys are amazing. Love you all and have a good one.